The Arab Caliphate, a real historical overview. The Arab Caliphate was one of the most powerful and expansive empires in history. It emerged in the 7th century following the death of the Prophet Muhammad and quickly spread across the Middle East, North Africa, parts of Europe and Asia. The Caliphate became a center of Islamic religion, culture, science and politics for centuries. The birth of Islam and the Rashidun Caliphate. The story of the Arab Caliphate begins with the rise of Islam. In the early 7th century in the city of Mecca, the Prophet Muhammad began preaching a message of monotheism, justice and social reform. His teachings attracted followers but also opposition from the local elite. After years of struggle, Muhammad and his followers migrated to Medina in 622, an event known as the Hijra, which marks the beginning of the Islamic calendar. Over the next decade, Muhammad united most of the Arabian Peninsula under Islam. When he died in 632, his followers faced the challenge of leadership. They chose Abu Bakr, a close companion of Muhammad, as the first caliph, meaning successor. This began the era of the Rashidun Caliphate, the rightly guided caliphs, which lasted from 632 to 661. Under the Rashidun caliphs Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman and Ali, the Muslim armies launched a series of rapid and successful conquests. They defeated the Byzantine and Sasanian empires, capturing Syria, Egypt, Persia, and beyond. The Muslim world expanded from a regional faith into a vast empire. The Rashidun era was marked by simple governance, religious zeal, and internal disputes. The assassination of the third caliph Uthman and the leadership conflict that followed led to the first fitna, or Islamic civil war. Caliph Ali was also assassinated, and the unity of the early Muslims began to fracture. The Umayyad Caliphate, expansion and empire. After the death of Ali, a new dynasty emerged, the Umayyads. Muawiyah I established the Umayyad Caliphate in 661 with Damascus as its capital. The Umayyads transformed the caliphate from a religious leadership into a powerful political monarchy. They ruled from 661 to 750 and oversaw one of the largest empires in history. The Umayyads expanded the empire further. Muslim armies reached North Africa, Spain, Central Asia, and the borders of India. In 711, Muslim forces crossed into the Iberian Peninsula and established Al-Andalus in Spain. At its peak, the Umayyad Caliphate stretched from the Atlantic Ocean to the borders of China. Arabic became the official language of administration and Islamic coins were minted. The empire saw the construction of great architectural projects like the Dome of the Rock in Jerusalem and the Great Mosque of Damascus. However, the Umayyads faced criticism, especially for their preference toward Arab elites over non-Arab Muslims and for ruling more like kings than religious leaders. Discontent grew among Persians and other groups who felt excluded. The Abbasid Caliphate and the Golden Age of Islam. In 750, the Umayyad dynasty was overthrown in a revolution led by the Abbasid family, descendants of Muhammad's uncle Abbas. The Abbasid Caliphate moved the capital from Damascus to Baghdad in modern-day Iraq. This shift marked a new era in Islamic history, one characterized by intellectual achievement, cultural diversity, and administrative sophistication. The Abbasids ruled from 750 to 1258, though their real power began to decline after the 10th century. Unlike the Umayyads, the Abbasids embraced non-Arab Muslims and integrated Persians, Turks, and other ethnic groups into the empire's administration. This created a more cosmopolitan and inclusive government. Baghdad became the cultural and intellectual heart of the Islamic world. The city was one of the largest and most advanced cities on earth. The House of Wisdom in Baghdad became a major center for learning, translation, and science. Scholars from across the Islamic world came to study mathematics, astronomy, medicine, philosophy, and literature. Arabic became the language of science and scholarship. Muslim scholars preserved and translated ancient Greek, Roman, Persian, and Indian texts into Arabic. They not only preserved knowledge but also expanded upon it. Important figures included Al-Khwarizmi, who laid the foundations of algebra. Ibn Sina, known in the West as Avicenna, who wrote a medical encyclopedia used in Europe for centuries. Al-Razi, a physician and chemist who wrote influential medical works. Al-Farabi and Al-Ghazali, philosophers who bridged Greek thought with Islamic theology. This period is known as the Golden Age of Islam. It was marked by flourishing art, architecture, music, and literature. The caliphs of Baghdad sponsored poets, scientists, and artists, and the Islamic world became a beacon of learning in a time when much of Europe was still recovering from the fall of Rome. Decline of Abbasid authority. While the Abbasid caliphs maintained religious authority, their political control began to weaken over time. The empire became too large to manage directly, and regional governors gained more independence. Various parts of the empire began to break away, forming their own dynasties, though they still recognized the Abbasid caliph as a spiritual leader. In the 10th century, the Umayyads, a Shiite dynasty, took control of Baghdad and reduced the caliphs to figureheads. Later, the Seljuk Turks, a Sunni group from Central Asia, took over military and administrative control, while the caliphs continued to perform ceremonial roles. Despite political fragmentation, the Islamic world remained united by religion, culture, language, and shared institutions. Trade flourished, connecting cities from Spain to China. Muslim merchants, scholars, and travelers played key roles in the global exchange of goods and ideas. The Mongol invasion and the fall of Baghdad. The final blow to the Abbasid Caliphate came in 1258 when the Mongols under Hulagu Khan invaded the Middle East. They besieged and destroyed Baghdad, one of the greatest catastrophes in Islamic history. The city was burned, its libraries destroyed, and thousands of people were killed. The caliph was executed and the Abbasid dynasty came to an end in Baghdad. A symbolic Abbasid Caliphate continued in Cairo under the protection of the Mamluks, but it held no real power. The fragmentation of the Muslim world. After the fall of Baghdad in 1258, the Islamic world entered a period of political fragmentation. Though the Abbasid Caliphate in its original form had ended, Islam itself continued to spread and influence vast regions. Dozens of independent and semi-independent Islamic states emerged across the Middle East, North Africa, Central Asia, and the Indian subcontinent. In many regions, local dynasties took control. These included the Mamluks in Egypt, the Seljuks, and later the Ottomans in Anatolia, the Almohads and Marinids in North Africa, and the Delhi Sultanate in India. Each of these states ruled in the name of Islam and contributed to Islamic culture, science, and architecture. The title of caliph remained important but became mostly symbolic. The Abbasid line was briefly restored in Cairo under Mamluk protection, but these caliphs had little political power. Still, the idea of a single Islamic ruler continued to hold emotional and spiritual significance for Muslims. The rise of the Ottomans and the last caliphate. In the 14th and 15th centuries, a new power emerged, the Ottoman Empire. Originating in Anatolia, the Ottomans expanded into Europe, the Middle East, and North Africa. In 1453, they captured Constantinople, ending the Byzantine Empire and transforming the city into their capital, Istanbul. The Ottomans gradually assumed leadership of the Muslim world. In 1517, Sultan Selim I defeated the Mamluks and brought the symbolic Abbasid Caliphate under Ottoman control. From that point, the Ottoman sultans claimed the title of Caliph of Islam and were widely recognized as the spiritual leaders of Sunni Muslims. Under the Ottomans, the Caliphate became institutionalized within the empire. The Ottomans ruled large Muslim populations and protected the holy cities of Mecca and Medina. Though the Caliphate was now tied to a specific empire, it retained symbolic importance across the Islamic world. The end of the Caliphate. The Ottoman Caliphate lasted for centuries but entered decline in the 19th century. The empire faced internal decay, European colonialism, and growing nationalism among its diverse peoples. During World War I, the Ottoman Empire sided with the Central Powers and was defeated. After the war, the empire collapsed and was replaced by the modern Republic of Turkey under Mustafa Kemal Ataturk. In 1924, Ataturk formally abolished the caliphate as part of his reforms to secularize and modernize Turkey. This marked the official end of the Islamic Caliphate as a political institution. Since then, various groups have claimed or called for a restoration of the caliphate, but no widely recognized caliphate has existed since 1924. Legacy of the Arab Caliphate. Despite the end of the institution, the legacy of the caliphate is profound. For centuries, it provided a unifying structure for the Muslim world, guided by Islamic principles and law. The caliphate preserved and transmitted ancient knowledge, developed science and medicine, fostered a rich intellectual culture, and spread Islam to new regions. The Arabic language became a unifying cultural force. Islamic art, literature, and architecture flourished under the caliphs. Institutions such as the madrasa, hospital, and library were expanded and refined under Islamic rule. The Caliphate also played a major role in world history. It shaped the development of Europe, Africa, and Asia. The Islamic Golden Age influenced the European Renaissance through the transmission of science, philosophy, and technology. Today, the idea of the Caliphate remains a powerful symbol for many Muslims, representing unity, justice, and religious leadership. Though the historical caliphates were far from perfect, they continue to inspire pride and debate in the modern Islamic world.